What's up, boys? MMA Outpost here. Today we're going to be looking at the upcoming UFC Fight Night card, Burns versus Morales. It's a pretty bad card. It's in the Apex. I don't really care about the Apex. The co-main event, it's Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. It's not that good of a card, but obviously I'm still going to be predicting the main event. We can also, I'm not going to talk about it much, but I did see that Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira finally got announced for International Fight Week. We also got UFC 319's main event of Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis. Obviously, we kind of knew both of these fights were going to happen. It's a little bit better knowing that it is official, pen on paper. We're getting them for sure, unless someone pulls out, which is not unlikely with Khamzat Chimaev. But let's talk about the dude. We're going to talk about the main event. Sorry, no one cares about the co-main event. Only the main event for today, dude. I'm sure you guys don't really care what I have to say about, Dustin Stolfus versus Narasan Rubabayev, dude. Oh, that's a war, bro. Let's talk about the main event, dude. So Gilbert Burns is coming off 3 straight losses, and obviously, when you look at those losses, they're not bad losses. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this, bro. Gilbert Burns' last couple losses, they're not that bad. Maybe he's not as washed as you think, and they're true in some way, dude. What they're saying isn't wrong. You look at his losses. His last couple losses, his last shot loss was against Sean Brady. Sean Brady is literally the #1 contender. Just absolutely ragdolled Leon Edwards. His loss before that, Jack Della Maddalena, the current champion, literally the current champion. People are saying Jack Della Maddalena is going to beat Islam Makhachev. Also, my last video against Jack my last video about Jack Della Maddalena, it got 50 comments, dude. Every single one of those comments was just hating on me. So keep the hate comments coming. I think for my 100th video on this channel, I'm going to be reacting to hate comments. So give me some more content to talk about. But what was I saying, dude? Gilbert Burns, obviously, he lost to Jack Della Maddalena. Not a bad loss. Jack Della Maddalena is literally the current champion. Gilbert Burns, his loss before that was against Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad was the champion literally last week. This guy, he ragdolled Leon Edwards as well. You got to give Bilal Muhammad some credit where credit's due. He's still pretty good, dude. He outstruck Jack Della Maddalena in some parts of that fight. And, yeah, dude, his last couple losses, Gilbert Burns, they're not that bad. But I do think this is the fight that absolutely crumbles Gilbert Burns. I do think this is the fight that we will finally see Gilbert Burns' age start to show. I do think this is the fight where we finally see Gilbert Burns' timing just be off. His quickness isn't there anymore. And I don't have Gilbert Burns in this fight. I have Michael Morales probably by a late TKO finish. He's on a good couple of finishes right now. Obviously he just finished Neil Magny, but everyone finishes Neil Magny, let's be honest. Before that, he was coming off a win to Jake Matthews. Before that, he was coming off a win to Max Griffin. He's obviously undefeated, 17-0, pretty record. So it's not that bad for him. But let's talk about it, dude. What Michael Morales exactly needs to do to win. So I believe what Michael Morales needs to do to win, first off, this guy needs to keep the fight standing, dude. Michael Morales, he has a significant reach and height advantage. That's for Gilbert Burns for you. Everyone has a height advantage over Gilbert Burns. But Michael Morales, you gotta use the jab. You got a long range strike. You gotta keep the moving up to keep Gilbert Burns at distance. You have to avoid the clinch. You have to avoid takedown defense. That's a given. Obviously, Gilbert Burns Jiu-Jitsu is world class. So just make sure you keep the fight standing. My second tip for Michael Morales is to maintain forward pressure. We've seen in Gilbert Burns' first loss with the welterweight division against Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman's a marauder, dude. Prime Kamaru Usman was a marauder, someone who would always just march you down forwardly. And obviously Gilbert Burns lost that fight. So I do believe that if Michael Morales, if he can just maintain forward pressure, always be on the front foot, and just make Gilbert Burns go on the back foot the whole fight, Gilbert Burns will struggle when constantly being pushed back. We've seen this before. And I think Michael Morales can cut off the cage with his long reach, with his movement. His footwork's actually pretty good. He can force Gilbert Burns to react defensively. And that's another tip for Michael Morales. Another one I have is Gilbert Burns. He's not really good at reading feints and angles. I think Michael Morales, I do think Gilbert Burns loads up on counter strikes way too much, especially with that overhand right he has, dude. It was working in your prime, dude, but you're kind of washed now. I wouldn't be so high on that overhand right, dude. So if Michael Morales can just mix up his entries into the pocket, avoid just being predictable, is it gonna limit Gilbert Burns' countering chances? Gilbert Burns in his day, this guy was countering everybody, dude. He had some really good counter left hook, good counter overhand. But Gilbert Burns is a slow old man, dude. We're not going to see that anymore. And yeah, that's my tip. The next one I have for Michael Morales is to defend the takedowns of Gilbert Burns. This is a given, dude. You got to defend the takedowns of Gilbert Burns. JDM couldn't do it, and he got a lucky knee in the final round. But Michael Morales, just defend. Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is world class. Michael Morales must keep his back off the cage, dude. We don't want to see any Mario Batista versus Jose all in the moments. Gilbert Burns, I don't see him winning this fight, dude. But Michael Morales just has to make sure to defend the takedown. And another tip for Michael Morales, look for the KO in the late rounds, dude. Gilbert Burns, he's always had okay cardio. You know, it's never been too good. It's never costed him any fights. So I think if Michael Morales just has to pressure, he has to keep up that pressure the whole fight. Gilbert Burns, I said it before, he's not young, he's old, dude. He's not as quick as he used to be, and if he can always be on the back foot, if Michael Morales just pressures him all fight, keeps him on the back foot, well, then he's gonna gas out. He's gonna get tired of just getting countered constantly, and he's gonna gas out. So I think Michael Morales, just go for the finish in the late rounds. A lot of people when they're fighting Gilbert Burns are hesitant to go for the finish, and I think he has to, dude. You can get a good win over Gilbert Burns, get a finish here, become 18-0, become the 8th lightweight in the world with a nice finish over Gilbert Burns. Don't be shy, just knock Gilbert Burns out. I don't think it's that hard. I'm flaming Gilbert Burns, dude. I'm not that much of a Gilbert Burns fan. I'm also not a Gilbert Burns hater. For Gilbert Burns, though, his path to victory, obviously, it's a little bit harder. The first tip I have for Gilbert Burns to win this fight is close the distance early, dude. You gotta avoid a striking war. You cannot strike with Michael Morales, dude. Michael Morales will knock you out. I think Gilbert Burns should explode in the range, dude. Like I said, that overhand, try it. You might as well, dude. There's no other way you're going to win that fight if you're not going to throw an overhand. You have to be in the clinch. Gilbert Burns has great clinch work. Just throw body shots in the clinch, throw knees, dude. Or he can shoot for takedowns. You know, it's a little bit risky. Shoot for takedowns, though. Pin Morales against the cage. Just be gritty. I'll talk about his grit a little bit later. Another tip for Gilbert Burns is to mix in level changes, dude. Keep Michael Morales guessing. Gilbert Burns needs to blend in his striking and wrestling because he has a pretty good ability to do both. So just make sure to always keep Michael Morales guessing. Throw a feint overhand, throw a feint overhand, feint jab, just back and forth, dude. I mean, I don't know if Gilbert Burns' old body can keep up with doing that, but if he can, just try it, dude. You got to keep Michael Morales guessing. Another tip I have for for Gilbert Burns, is to just make the fight gritty, dude. Show your grit. Bite down on the mouthpiece, Gilbert Burns. Come on, dude. Show your experience. Remind him who you are, dude. I sound like DC with these tips. DC always has the worst path to victories. Remind them who you are. Remind them who you are. Show them what you've done, or something stupid like that. But if Gilbert Burns can slow the pace, if he can crowd Morales, if he can grind him down with the dirty boxing, then I think that Gilbert Burns actually has a chance. I think he can outwork Morales if he's gritty, if he makes this fight dirty, if he throws in nice elbows from the clinch, he can make this fight dirty. He can make this a dog fight. You know, Gilbert Burns, he's been in a lot of dog fights. Don't forget that fight with Khamzat Chimaev, dude. That was a war. So make this fight dirty, make this fight gritty, bite down on the mouthpiece, throw it with some overhands. Don't be afraid to take a punch. Don't be afraid to take a punch, but also don't get absolutely knocked out for your final fight, Gilbert Burns. Because I think this should be Gilbert Burns' final fight. If he loses, he'd be coming off 4 straight losses. And let's be honest, guys, is Gilbert Burns never going to fight for a title again? Heck no. So, yeah, man, thank you guys for watching. This was a fun video I made to predict the fight night this weekend. And MMA Outpost out.